Hey everybody, this is Everyday Commentary, and it is Sweet Stuff Saturday, recorded on a Saturday. And I just wanted to show off two things I got in and talk about them in comparison to other stuff. So, first of all, I'm going to make these little caddies. I don't know if this is going to work. I'm going to try to make them nice, but basically the idea is I had some scrap leftovers from a project that were really nice Baltic birch plywood. So I glued them together, and I'm going to try to carve out something in the middle so you can put your stuff in, and then like leave it up against, like leave this on your nightstand and just like, drop your knife, your multi-tool, your flashlight in there, and it won't like scratch up your nightstand, because my nightstand, compared to my wife's, and we bought them at the exact same time, obviously, they're all beat up. So that's in the works. I'm not sure how it's going to turn out. But I wanted to talk about this and this. Look at that. They both slid right into the frame. So the first thing is a knife I've never had, and I've never actually owned a knife from this company, but this is the Spartan Knives Talos. And this is a budget version, a cheaper version of the Harzi 3.25. So they made the Harzi, which is sort of like, lots of people call it like a combination of a Sebenza and a Hinderer. And it's a titanium knife that's generally in this shape. There's a big one, and then there's a little one. The little one is 3.25 inches. This is actually 3.25 inches as well. And the regular one, I think they ran S45 VN for a while. Now they're running Magna Cut. This actually, the cheap one, I got for 76 bucks on Amazon, which is a crazy good buy. This knife runs CTS XHP steel. It's produced overseas. It is a liner lock. It has a 3.25 inch blade, but it is designed by Bill Harzi. And Bill Harzi is just a knife master. He knows every trick there is about making knives. And so this knife is really small given the size of the blade. I mean, when you think about how small this knife is, hold on, let me go get a comparison real quick. So this is a knife I have in the shop. They beat up on it all the time. This is the Demco 8020. And you can see, boy, it is messy. Still got a good edge though. This is the El Cheapo one with the AUS 10 steel. AUS 10 is like just absolute straight fire garbage. This knife is 3 inches long. The blade is 3 inches long. It might be 3.25 inches long. Maybe. But you can see it's almost exactly the same as the Harzi. But look how much bigger. I mean, it's bananas. Like, the knife is so much bigger. The handle is way bigger. Look at these knives next to each other in terms of handle size. I mean, like, this thing is like twice the size in terms of volume as this guy. And it's the same blade length. It is just remarkable. The knife runs on phosphor bronze washers. It's nice and flippy. You can easily pop it open with a good coin flip. The handle is plain G10 on one side and then pocketed G10 on the other for the liner lock. There's good access to the liner lock because the liner lock itself has a little tab. As you can see there, there's a tab right there that puts the liner up above the handle scales. Makes it easy to engage and disengage. The blade is quite thick for what you're getting. I mean, I'm used to pretty thin knives, but this is a thick boy. But it gets down to the edge pretty good, and that's because it has a nice flat grind. There's a deep carry over the top pocket clip, which is quite effective, and it puts the knife in your pocket at a little bit of a cant. And I've noticed that if I do it and then like put it up against the seam, it never goes anywhere because the angle of the clip kind of puts the knife into the fabric. So it really stays nice and secure. The last thing that's really crazy about this knife is this series of finger scallops. You can see one here, and then this. I absolutely hate finger scallops. I just hate them. I hate them. That being said, they're really sort of minimally problematic. I would love to just shave them off if I could, but without doing serious damage to the knife and altering it, I can't do that. And so I'm going to just, say I fucking hate finger scallops and then review the knife. But I can tell you right now, this knife is going to get a great score because it was relatively cheap. It's super compact for what it is. It's nice and light. It's definitely under 3 ounces. And you get a ton of blade length packed into this handle. Like, look at how much. Now, this is the other thing. You got like good, I wouldn't say like, it's not like a 1/4 inch, but you got like a good 1/8 of an inch clearance there. You're not worried about being at the tip of the knife at all. Whereas here, you know, like you got all this extra stuff. And like, I get it. Like, I actually think this handle is better than this handle, but not by much. I mean, this is kind of finger scallopy too. But man, I just am really impressed by how much you get into this tiny little package. This is very evidently a knife made by or designed by a master. So that's the Spartan Knives Talos. The other thing I got in, and I just tell you, this has been sad. I've only ever lost like 1 or 2 pieces of gear. And one of them that I lost in the move. And it was one of these. It was an original Skeletool Leatherman Skeletool CX. It had the 154 cm blade that also had the serrations. I don't like serrations on blades. It just makes them harder to sharpen. But it was one of my favorite pieces of gear because it was a really old piece of gear. And it was a piece of gear that my sister had got me for Christmas one year. I think I got it the year the Skeletools came out. I mean, it was just really, really cool to have such a long-lasting piece of kit. And unfortunately, when we moved from one house to another, in the move, it got lost. I'm not sure if I sat it down and somebody picked it up. There were 20 people in our house that day. Only 6 of whom were related, or 5 of whom were related to me. So maybe it walked away, or maybe I left it at the old house. I don't remember. But anyway, it had been like 2 years, and I had not had a Skeletool, and I was like, you know, I really like the Skeletool. So let's talk about why I like the Skeletool. So the only other multi-tool that I feel is like really comparable to the Skeletool is this guy. And this guy is the SOG Flash MT. And it has a knife blade, just like this guy has a knife blade. It has a driver. In this case, it's really just a pry. It's not actually a driver. The drivers are in here. So this is a micro driver that has a plus and a minus, Phillips and a flathead on both sides. And you put it in here and crunch it down, and then it twists. So it has a center driver. The problem is this driver is really too small. I mean, it is definitely a compromise, but it is just too small. I mean, there's so many Phillips screws that I use or that are around the house that this cams out of because they're just too small. I mean, it's too tiny. So let me go give you an example. Hold on, I'll be right back. So this screw is a screw for a drywall anchor. You know, like you're putting up a picture or something in your house, and you can see here, it'll drive it, it'll be okay, but if it has any resistance, it just kind of pops out. And that's because this head, the head of the driver, the head of the bit, is just too small. It really won't grab stuff all that hard. And they had to do that to make this work. There's a clever little magnet right there, so it'll kind of rest. And like, is it better than nothing? Yes, it is obviously better than nothing. Is it that much better than nothing? And the answer is no. It is not that much better than nothing. I'd much rather have like the combi tool from the 88 and 91 millimeter Swiss Army knives than that guy. It's not great. The other thing I don't like about this knife is this tool, I really dislike the assisted open. It makes this thing much more complicated than it needs to be. You got this stupid safety thing. The blade is fine. It's okay. It's D2 steel. It's coated. I've used this thing a metric ton, and I've used it in really gross conditions, like to cut open salt bags in the middle of winter. So it's like wet and salty. And it did rust. It rusted quite a bit. And you can see I've sharpened it quite a bit. But nice and sharp now. D2 takes a great edge. But it also feels a little pinchy and cheap in the hand. There's a lot of folded steel here, a lot of thin folded steel. Not bad, but using this for 3 years taught me that I really want one of these. I wanted one of these again. This is my favorite multi-tool. It's the right size. I can throw it in my pocket. I can carry it all day on a weekend. I can use it to do a bunch of different things. And like, it has the 2D bits, but the 2D bits are significantly bigger. I have a really hard time, you know, trying to make this cam out. If I'm putting pressure on it, it's gonna drive this screw for a drywall anchor all day long. Really, really good multi-tool. The other thing is it does use folded steel, you can see that, but they folded the steel in a really good way so that there are no pinchy, I mean, there's a little bit of pinch here, but that's the knife blade. When you put this up, it just goes into your hand much nicer. It's a really well-designed multi-tool. You can get like a full toolbox replacement, like a Wave, or I have a TTI, a Charge TTI. I'm probably gonna get the Leatherman Arc just to see what it's like. But for me, the thing that I would want the most is this guy. It has everything you need and nothing you don't. And the drivers are better than on the SOG MT. The one thing that is not better, and this is like, is the tips. Look at the tip on this. This tip is nice and pointy. You got a lot of grip. This tip, not so pointy, and it makes it harder to get stuff in, and you know, like, you can really get precise with this tip. You can't get precise with this tip. The other problem that I have is, unlike the SOG, it's not spring loaded, or like if you're not gonna do spring loaded, I'd want these compound pliers. So like the multi-tool, the SOG MT, the SOG Flash MT has a better pliers, but that's basically it. And the thing that you use the most for me on these kind of multi-tools is the knife, followed by the driver, followed by the pliers. And so I'd take the pliers, I'd take this knife or this tool over this tool, even though this tool has better pliers. I also like the carabiner. You know, one of the things that I've discovered is that when I'm in the middle of a project, what I'll often do is, instead of closing it back up and using the pocket clip, is I'll just hang this off a belt loop so that I have it open and ready to go, and I can just grab it and pull it off and go. You can't really do anything like that with this. So this is my favorite multi-tool, and I am glad I have it back. This is one of the new models that comes in, I think there are 4 colorways. There's like a black, there's a black and green, there's a like almost like you know, the Gulf livery, except instead of orange, it's sort of like a pinkish orange, like a melon and blue. And then this one is the Nightshade, which is the light blue and the dark blue. I love blue. I love this multi-tool. This was like a definitely gonna buy kind of thing. So really glad that I was able to find one and pick it up. It is confirmed as my favorite multi-tool now that I've owned 2 with a big gap in the middle between when I was owning and using them. This is as good as it gets. One last thing I want to point out. This originally came to me, and the liner lock was all the way over to the pivot. So the pivot acts as an over travel stop here. And it was all the way over. And even when it was all the way over, I had enough slop that I could make it like click. And it was actually a gap of probably, you know, a 16th or an 18th of an inch here. Or 1/8 of an inch. It just didn't work. I sent it back to Leatherman. They sent me one, and I don't know if it's the same one and they fixed it or it's a new one, but they sent it back to me in about a week, and it was great. So take a look for a review of this. I'm not going to bother to review this because I've already reviewed it. And I'll talk to you later.